In this video, we're going to explore the scary reality of being unprepared for emergencies, and we'll offer practical advice on how you can start planning now to protect yourself and your loved ones. We'll cover everything from the common types of emergencies you might face to the steps you can take to prepare for them. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn how you can take control of your safety and security in a world where emergencies can happen at any time. Don't click away from this video. The information we'll share could make all the difference in the world when disaster strikes. Chapter 1. The scary reality of being unprepared. Imagine a scenario where a natural disaster hits your area and you find yourself trapped without food, water, or shelter. Perhaps you are forced to flee your home without any means of communication or access to important information. Or maybe you're caught in the middle of a medical emergency, unsure of what to do next. These situations are all too real and can have devastating effects on our lives. The consequences of being unprepared can be catastrophic, resulting in the loss of life, property, and livelihoods. For those who survive such disasters, the emotional trauma can be equally devastating, leaving them with lifelong scars that never truly heal. We cannot afford to be complacent in the face of such potential disasters. We must take proactive steps to prepare ourselves, our families, and our communities for emergencies. It is only by doing so that we can hope to minimize the damage caused by such events. Chapter 2. Common types of emergencies. First on the list are natural disasters such as earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. These events can have catastrophic effects on our lives, causing widespread destruction and leaving us without basic necessities such as shelter, food, and water. It's essential to have a plan in place to evacuate safely and have the necessary supplies on hand to ride out the storm. Next up are medical emergencies, which can occur at any time and can be life-threatening. Whether it's a heart attack, stroke, or severe injury, knowing how to respond in these situations could mean the difference between life and death. Having basic first aid training and a well-stocked medical kit can make all the difference in an emergency. Another common emergency that we may face is a power outage or other utility failure, which can leave us without access to essential services such as electricity, heating, and water. In these situations, having backup power sources such as generators or solar panels can be a game changer. Lastly, we cannot forget about the threat of human-made disasters, such as terrorist attacks or civil unrest. These events can be unpredictable and can leave us feeling vulnerable and exposed. It's important to have a plan in place to stay safe and have emergency supplies on hand in case of a sudden evacuation. Chapter 3. Steps to emergency preparedness. We'll get to that in a second. I have a favor to ask of you. If you like this video so far, please subscribe to the channel. The first step to emergency preparedness is to create a plan. This plan should outline what you will do in the event of an emergency, including where you will go, who you will contact, and what supplies you will need. Be sure to involve everyone in your household in the planning process so that everyone knows what to do in an emergency. Next, stock up on emergency supplies. This includes food, water, medical supplies, and other essentials that you might need if you're forced to evacuate or if basic services are disrupted. It's important to have enough supplies to last for at least 72 hours and to periodically check and rotate your supplies to ensure that they remain fresh and usable. Another crucial step in emergency preparedness is to stay informed. Sign up for emergency alerts and keep track of weather and news reports that may impact your area. Having access to up-to-date information can help you make informed decisions and stay safe in an emergency. In addition to these practical steps, it's also important to build community resilience. Reach out to your neighbors and build relationships with them so that you can support each other in times of crisis. Join local emergency response groups and take part in community preparedness efforts. Chapter 4. Common mistakes in emergency preparedness. The first mistake that people often make is failing to create a comprehensive emergency plan. While it's easy to say that you'll know what to do in an emergency, the reality is that stress and panic can make it difficult to think clearly. Without a well-thought-out plan, you might waste precious time trying to figure out what to do when every second counts. Another common mistake is failing to stock up on essential supplies. Many people assume that they can rely on local stores or emergency services to provide them with what they need in an emergency. However, in a disaster situation, these resources may be overwhelmed or completely inaccessible. By not having enough food, water, and medical supplies on hand, you could be putting yourself and your family at risk. A third mistake is failing to stay informed about potential emergencies. Ignoring weather alerts or news reports could lead to you being caught off guard in a disaster. It's important to stay up to date on the latest information so that you can make informed decisions and take appropriate action. Lastly, people often make the mistake of thinking that emergency preparedness is a one-time activity. The truth is that emergencies can happen at any time, and your preparedness plans and supplies should be regularly reviewed and updated to ensure that they're effective. Chapter 5. The psychological impact of emergencies. One of the most immediate effects of an emergency is stress. During a crisis, our bodies produce stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, which can lead to physical and emotional symptoms such as increased heart rate, anxiety, and irritability. For some individuals, this stress can develop into post-traumatic stress disorder, PSD, a condition that can cause persistent feelings of anxiety, fear, and helplessness. Another psychological impact of emergencies is the disruption of normal routines and social structures. Disasters can uproot people from their homes, jobs, and communities, leading to feelings of disorientation and isolation. Losing a home or a loved one can also cause grief, depression, and feelings of hopelessness. Moreover, emergencies can also have economic consequences, which can exacerbate the psychological impact. For example, loss of income, property damage, and medical bills can lead to financial stress, adding to the burden of an already difficult situation. It's important to acknowledge and address these psychological impacts of emergencies to promote healing and recovery. Community support and mental health resources can be invaluable in helping individuals and communities cope with the aftermath of a crisis. Taking care of yourself and your loved one's mental health can be just as important as physical preparedness. Chapter 6. The role of government in emergency preparedness. One critical function of the government in emergency preparedness is providing essential infrastructure and services. This includes building and maintaining roads, bridges, and public transportation systems, as well as providing access to healthcare, clean water, and emergency services. Without these critical services, communities would be unable to effectively respond to emergencies and recover from their aftermath. Additionally, the government plays a crucial role in developing and implementing emergency response plans. This includes coordinating with first responders, establishing communication protocols, and ensuring that essential supplies and resources are available when disaster strikes. Governments can also provide funding and support for emergency preparedness initiatives, such as public education campaigns and training for first responders. Finally, the government can work to promote resilience in communities and reduce the risks associated with emergencies. This includes measures such as investing in infrastructure that can withstand natural disasters, promoting sustainable land use practices, and providing support for vulnerable populations such as low-income families and the elderly. By taking steps to prepare ourselves and our communities for emergencies, we can minimize the risks, reduce the impact, and ensure that we can recover quickly and effectively. This includes taking the time to develop an emergency plan, stocking up on essential supplies, and staying informed about potential threats. Remember, emergency preparedness is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process that requires commitment, dedication, and effort. By working together and taking responsibility for our own safety and the safety of our communities, we can ensure that we're ready to face whatever emergencies may come our way.